Hi, this is Betsy Hill, president of BrainWare Learning Company. And what I'm going to do today is provide a brief introduction to the Mindprint Cognitive Assessment and how easy it is to create a personalized learning plan for any student based on their specific cognitive strengths and weaknesses. Just a little bit of background on Mindprint. It was developed at the University of Pennsylvania in the School of Medicine. It has been through all of the hoops that you would hope for a normed, reliable, scientifically valid cognitive assessment and has a high correlation with other cognitive assessments that you may be familiar with. Some of the advantages are that it can be administered online in about an hour and that it can be administered by a teacher or a parent. It's really very straightforward and very easy to do. It's also quite affordable, and you're provided with, especially if you're a school or a clinician, a variety of different reporting options to suit your situation. There are 10 subtests in the Mindprint Cognitive Assessment. Each test will provide you, when you get the report, you will have a score for accuracy and also a score for speed, so that you'll be able to tell if a student can do a particular task, but maybe is quite slow at it, or conversely, they may be rushing through things and then making a lot of mistakes. So it gives you quite a bit of information in that respect. So 2 of the tests have to do with processing speed, visual motor speed, and processing speed. There are 3 executive functions tests: attention, flexible thinking, and working memory. Also 3 reasoning tests: abstract, verbal, and spatial reasoning. And then finally 2 memory tests, and it tests both verbal and visual memory. So the first step, of course, is that a student will take the assessment, simply done with a computer that needs to have a mouse and an internet connection. So it's online, and as I said before, it takes about an hour. It can be overseen by you in your office if you're a clinician, or it can be administered by a teacher in a classroom or a computer lab, or even a parent can oversee it, and that can be very handy if you do work with students who are at some distance or can't make it into your office. Out of that, you will, of course, find out in a variety of different reporting formats what strengths and weaknesses this student has from a cognitive point of view. So this student doesn't have any skills in that skills to support that weaknesses area. That would be in the bottom 16% of the population. In the top 16% of the population, the student had a number of scores. This is quite a capable student. And then a variety of scores also in the expected range in that middle area, which would be normally developing for their age and gender. But we'll see if they're a little bit lower, a little bit higher, even within that expected range. So there are a variety of different reporting options for clinicians and schools. One is just the standard scores. The other one is a twist on the standard scores called the Mindprint Assist. I'm going to show you an example in just a moment. The comprehensive Mindprint, which is the most detailed and really a very compelling report that can be shared with parents and students. And then a cognitive growth report if you are using the assessment as a pre-test and post-test. For example, if you have a student using BrainWare Safari, many schools and clinicians are using Mindprint as the pre and the post-test, and the cognitive growth report will look at improvement across all of those different skills for the student who's being reported for. So the simplest one, of course, is a standard scores report. If you work with standard scores, this will be probably very familiar looking to you. It will report both speed and accuracy, as I said, and then characterize whether this is at the low end, a weakness, a strength in the expected range, where that standard score implies that that student falls. And if you work with standard scores, of course, this will be quite familiar territory to you. The Mindprint Assist adds to the standard scores with a descriptive paragraph. So if you are including a write-up or providing a discussion of some kind for a report for parents or students, this is something that can definitely expedite that process and make things a little bit easier. The full comprehensive Mindprint is a detailed report, usually about 10 to 12 pages, that has a full discussion of the student's learning profile, how they performed on all these tests, what it means, and then proceeds to go into each skill area and discuss that in depth. So it will discuss what that skill is, it will discuss how the student performed on the test, and what that means, what it means for their learning, what it means for the kinds of experiences and difficulties or ease that they may be able to do various academic skills with. So we start always with the strengths and how the student and parent and teacher can all help the student reinforce those strengths, and then goes on to discuss specific needs, so the areas that are weaknesses or need some support. So for this student, that happened to be flexible thinking, and it discusses the kinds of things you might see as a parent or teacher and how to support that student. After that happens, then you have access to a really rich and extensive personalized toolbox of resources. And this is where the personal learning plan comes into play. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch from my PowerPoint, and I am going to share my screen with you, and we are going to go into my, that's my PowerPoint, go into my account in Mindprint. And I can see my students, and I'm going to select my one student here. So I can look at his learning profile if I want, always from here. But what I'm going to do now, since I've already seen his learning profile, is I'm going to go directly into his personalized toolbox. So I have a number of choices here. I can search for individual strategies or individual products or things like that. But I can also go straight to this student plans button on the right. And I'm going to select personalized learning plan, because what I want to do is I want to create a plan that I can share with Devante and his parents and his teachers so that everybody can be on the same page understanding his Mindprint, his learning profile. So within here, I can also, of course, develop plans that I sort of do-it-yourself plans, but this one is so convenient. So I will select areas that I want to focus on, or that he and his parents and I have all agreed to focus on. So I've checked study skills, reading, and writing for this purpose. It'll remind me what his profile skills are. And then what it will do is it automatically selects 2 strategies for each of these areas that are the best fit with this student's individual strengths and weaknesses. So for example, this student has strengths in working memory and visual memory, as you can see in the center box on top. But skills to support include verbal reasoning, attention, organization, processing speed, and motor speed. So I'm going to go down now, and I can see that this is a best fit for attention and processing speed and organization. So this is keying right into those areas where that student needs extra support. And it automatically selects 2 strategies for study skills, 2 strategies for reading, and 2 strategies for writing. Now, if I don't want to, or if I do want to explore other options, I can just click on Add or Change Strategies, and I can see a plethora of other options. Some of them have to do with testing, some of them have to do with preparation, some of them have to do more directly with the reading process. But I can see that there are a lot of really good fit strategies, and then it goes down to some that are maybe helpful, but not necessarily don't seem to be as good of a fit in this particular situation for this particular student. So if I want to, I can change them, I can add to, I can have more or less. But this is a great starting point for a student and parent and the teacher with you, or the clinician, if you're a clinician involved in this, to get started on some very specific strategies, approaches that will be helpful for this student in particular. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back to, I want to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to get back to here where I'm going to pull my presentation back up. So again, the personalized toolbox of resources also includes other things, but the personalized student plan is really where the power is. It's just administer the assessment. The results should be ready not too long after that. Depends a little bit on how detailed reporting you're asking for. But then it's really just a few clicks away until you automatically. That report, that individualized learning plan can be communicated directly with teachers and parents. You can print it, you can share it. It's very, very easy to take the next step. The final report I wanted to just share briefly with you is the cognitive growth report. And this assumes that the student is taking the assessment twice, once before and once after using BrainWare Safari Cognitive Training Program. So you can see that we have all of the different tests. We can see what the result was on the pre-test. So for this student, visual motor speed was a strength on the pre-test, also a strength on the post-test. But in some of these other areas, it is, for example, this student needed support, the bottom actually 5% in attention, and moved up to low expected after doing cognitive training with BrainWare Safari, which was a very significant improvement. So here, a significant improvement is at least a half a standard deviation and a full standard deviation or more for a very significant improvement. So that's another kind of reporting specifically for the situation of using Mindprint as a pre and a post test. So I hope that's been helpful. I hope you've seen how easy it is to create an individualized learning plan, specifically addressing the cognitive strengths and weaknesses of any student, and how useful that can be in helping support them in their learning. More information is available on our website, or by calling us, or by emailing us. We certainly hope to hear from you, and if you have any questions, we hope you'll get in touch. Thanks so much. Have a great day.